having this tomato basil soup with an egg drop. Oh my god, look at the little egg drop. It's kind of like more like a poached egg at this point, but that's the vibe I wanted. I also put some cheese in there and rice and spinach. So it's kind of like partially Asian. Well, I don't know, white people use rice too, so what am I supposed to, like, what do I think? Who knows what I think anyway. And then on the side we have this cheese, turkey, and country bread. I just had a shower. Oh, that is actually pretty good. Just broke the egg with the bread. Oops. But it was a great idea. Yeah. So good, bruh. Yeah, I'm not sure how this is gonna work right now. This was the best idea I've had in a while, not gonna lie. I just finished the audiobook for Crazy Rich Asians. Bruh. That final scene with Michael and Astrid. It felt so much more real than the one we got in the movie. I'm not gonna give too much away for people who haven't read it, but oh fuck it. Spoiler alert. And I feel like I like this version of Astrid and Michael a lot more than what we got in the movie. Sorry, John M. Chu. But this one just felt a lot more realistic, in my opinion. And it hit me real deep. Like, I didn't think I was gonna cry over it, but I think I might. I think I might actually cry. I'm like holding back tears because of how much I feel for these two characters, which is crazy. Yeah. I don't think I've... Wow. So, if you watch the movie, then you, like me, probably think that Michael cheated on Astrid. But I just finished listening to the audiobook, and she bumps into Charlie Wu at the wedding, right? And he whisks her off to Hong Kong to go find her husband. Turns out his husband is at his... Spoiler alert, I already gave the spoiler alert, so if you are still watching this, like, yeah. He's with his cousin, helping her with her son, in Hong Kong. And yeah, the specific chapter is called Wuthering Towers. And they have this really heartfelt conversation about how he knows how much she makes, how her brother sat him down before they got married, and he went through all of that, you know what I mean? He like went through a prenup and a postnup, knowing he's not getting anything out of this marriage, and he knows how much she makes every year, he knows how much she owns, and he fabricates this cheating scandal so that he can give her a reason to hate him and to divorce him. And to think like this man would rather be known as a cheater by all of Singaporean high society than to like continue living as her husband. It's wild, but it felt really realistic. Yeah. It felt a lot more realistic, in my opinion, than what we got in the movie. Because I was just kind of sitting there thinking, like, does this man not know what he got himself into? You know? But then to find out that, I don't know, that he didn't actually do it, but he wanted to give her a reason to like end the relationship. It suits his character. All right. I'm gonna pause the eating and just talk. It suits his character a lot more because you know that he is someone who has a really strong work ethic. He was in OCS, which is like the elite NS squad or section. Please forgive me, I am not as familiar with NS terms as most Singaporeans would be and should be, but he was an officer cadet, like, you know, and it goes against like this, well, it's more, yeah, it goes against the stereotype and the cliche of like, oh yeah, insecure man marries a woman above his quote-unquote status and can't handle it, so he cheats on her. And instead he uses that cliche to give her a reason to break up with him, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, of course he lied about it, you know, and he didn't have the courage and the audacity to just tell her straight up what he's been going through. But it's a very good foil to what happens with Nick and Rachel, right? In a way that Nick and Rachel go into this relationship, like he brings her to Singapore, and yeah, he doesn't really prepare her for anything. And on the other hand, you have the opposite, like high status woman with low status man, and he knows what he's getting himself into. He knows, like, and he ends up thinking his marriage to her was a mistake. And I think that's a lot more heartbreaking. Because you can't win either way, right? As a woman. Um, can't win either way. Yeah, you could say that, like, he just doesn't have it in him to grow with her. But you have to, like, acknowledge how far the man has come. I mean, he tells her himself, he's like saying how, you know, his parents, like, they know that he grew up in Toa Payoh. You know, his parents live there, and he talks about, well, I don't want to give too much away from that chapter. The chapter itself is called Wuthering Towers, which is fascinating because Wuthering Heights just came out. And as much as I don't like the fact that they chose not to cast a person of color for Heathcliff, there is this element of, like, upper class, high status woman and lower class man, and the complexities of navigating that relationship. Because I think, like, elitism and classism and the patriarchy is not kind to both men and women. And it's fascinating how he deals with this in such a different way from Rachel. Yeah. Like, he can't bring himself to break up with her face to face, but she ends up discovering it for herself. And that sort of element of pride, maybe? Ego? I don't know. I don't know what exactly the word I would use is, but that element, it complicates it. I mean, it not really complicates, it gives layers to the story, and I feel a lot more prepared for the scene that I'm working on. So I'm working on the scene between Astrid and Michael in the movie for an on-camera class, and so I decided to finally listen to the book. I didn't really feel like reading it physically, so I listened to it on Audible, and it was a wild trip. I got very upset and very triggered just knowing, like, how, like, is this the sort of peak of womanhood for Astrid? You know, if she was a man, sure, Michael would be faced with all these gold digger and social climber derogatory terms and treated with a lot of disrespect. But I think knowing that he didn't actually cheat on her and he fabricated this story just to give her a reason to get out of their relationship and to end their marriage, I think I can see why she fell for him. I think I can see why, like, that being said, it's very different from my own experiences, because in my own experiences, yes, I've dated men who did feel like they could never give me the life that my parents have been able to give me. But they told me straight up, very early on, you know, like within a year of dating. So I don't know why he had a child with her and waited for 6 to 7 years. Maybe he thought it would get better. Maybe he had hope. Maybe, yeah, but and my parents are like, my wealth is nowhere near Astrid's level of wealth, so I don't even understand that. But that's where the imagination work has to start. You know what I mean? That's where I need to do some work on imagination, on imagining the lives of these two people, and from Astrid's perspective, because I'll be playing her, right? And I need to really create that world for them. But I think I've come sort of full circle with the text right now, because yeah, I started this book feeling just not impressed by the movie, and I think the only reason I forgave the movie as a Singaporean was because I had read China Rich Girlfriend. Like, I had a Malaysian Chinese friend who convinced me to read the books. So I read the books. And then, well, no, I only read the second book because I was like not feeling the first book. And then I read the second book and I was like, yeah, actually, the books are a lot deeper than what was in the film. And there was a lot more nuance and layers, and the satire and the comedy was there for me in a way that was not as present in the film. And then I forgot about it for a while. Well, I fell in love with Colette's character, and I thought, you know, like, if there is ever a time that I ever get to play a character from this film, it would not be nice. It would be really fun to play Colette Bing, because I love playing villains. Like, my dream role, this is wild, but it's how I feel. My dream role is to play Sauron, okay? Like, if you ask me in the universe of what characters I could ever play, I want to play Sauron from Lord of the Rings. Like, from Tolkien's universe, I want to play Sauron, okay? But who knows if I'll ever get cast as Sauron. Maybe. I don't know. And, so... that's why I love playing these sorts of, like, fun pie. Antagonistic roles. I just think it's fun, and also I think because I'm nothing really like that in real life, like, I don't let that side out of me, even if I occasionally have that little, like, demon sitting there feeding me the, like, snarky remarks in my brain. It's not, I, like, channel that into positivity somewhere, you know. I, like, give it back to the earth, you know, or surrender it to God, or put it into my work as an actor. So yeah, and then I forgot about, so I decided to, like, work on Colette's scene with Rachel from the book when I first came to LA in 2023. And then I let it go. I forgot all about it. And then I came back to Astrid and Michael's scene last week when our on-camera teacher assigned us this exercise to film a scene with a character in our essence. And I thought about it for a while, and then I was like, after going through the Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, you know, rabbit hole, like, and thinking about, like, the rabbit hole of all the other characters I could play, I thought I want to play a Singaporean because I've never played a Singaporean in America yet. You know, I've never played a Singaporean in this studio, so I want to play a Singaporean. And then I remembered Astrid and Michael's scene from Crazy Rich Asians because it was my dad's favorite scene in the movie. I think because he has 3 daughters, so he was with Astrid when Astrid was like, I can't make you feel like a man. He was like, yeah. He was being like a girl dad at that point in time. But now that I've listened to the audiobook and filled out some of the background research on how they first met and, you know, their relationship, and actually more about what Michael's life is like, because I think from Astrid's point of view, I have to paint the pictures of, okay, like, yeah, I met this guy, and how much of his family, you know, like what were the Chinese New Year's like at their house in Toa Payoh, you know what I mean? And at what point did I decide to start hiding my bags and my shopping and hiding my wealth in front of him and his family? And the fact that he knows actually means that I wasn't really good at it. And also, like, it means like I decided quite late on into the relationship. Like, we dated for long enough for him to know what kind of family I'm from, you know. And I think the British accent, like, I think honestly, in my opinion, I would make the choice to like Singlishify Astrid's accent around Michael, because she's already doing all of these hiding the bags lah, you know, hiding her wealth lah. I mean, you can hear my Singlish coming out also lah, but you know what I mean? Like, it does not make sense for her to talk to him in received pronunciation. Also, like, side note, the accents in the audiobook were kind of strange, especially the British one. And like, the kids were going to boarding school, meaning they hadn't lived in London yet, but they already had the strong BBC RP the minute they were introduced as children. And I talked to my mom about this, okay? So I was like, Mom, I was like, because I was quite pissed off because I was trying to talk to some of my American friends about it, being like, it doesn't make sense to me that you have this Singaporean actor and a British actress who went to drama school, who has probably had voice and speech and like structured accent and dialect training in drama school. Like, at least they would have learned SCGA, right? They would have learned standard so-called general American in drama school. So why did they not have a dialect coach? At least like one class lah, auntie. I'm sorry, sister. But like, you're with the love of your life, you're with the second love of your life. You know, you're like with your husband. You're hiding all your wealth. What makes you think you won't hide the wealth in your accent, nah? I don't understand. Anyway, so I mean, I spoke to a few of my American friends, and then like one of them just didn't really get it. So I talked to my mom about it, and my mom was like, we came to this conclusion that it really just depends on the parents and your upbringing. And I told her, I was like, Mom, you know, like, I studied in the UK. I went to boarding school for a couple years. Like, I don't talk like that. I mean, that being said, Astrid probably went from like 11 or 13. So she probably went for like 6 or 7 years, and then she lived there for like a decade because she went to Oxford, right? So I also lived there for a decade, but because I went older, I went like 17, 18. No, I was 17. 16, 17. Oops, 16, 17. So like, and I lived there for like a decade, more or less, okay? So like, maybe you could say that I had 3 or 4 more years of Singlish in me, and I was a teenager, you know what I mean? But like, it does not make any sense. So I told my mom, I was like, it doesn't make any sense. She's hiding her bag, she's hiding her her jewelry. She's like hiding her charity work and all her things she does. Like, why would she not Singlishify her accent around this Toa Payoh boy? And my mom was like, it depends on her upbringing and her parents. And she was like, because we're chameleons. And I was like, okay, okay, mom, right? Because she also like, both of us like have, you know, because at one point in my life, at one point in my time here, I got really pissed off at this guy, a white guy, and I don't know why my British accent started coming out, and I was like full send, like fully in this receive pronunciation mode, and I just don't even know what happened. And honestly, I mean, to be fair, to be frank, and to be fair, he started this scene in RP, and he was working on his RP, which is fine, but I wasn't even thinking when I responded, you know? So like, it makes zero, you know? So then I was like, maybe it comes out with white people because I'm arguing with a white person. And then my mom was like, yeah, it happens to me too. And I was like, okay, maybe it is about your upbringing and your, you know, because actually when I think about it, right, my Singlish is not very Singlish. It's actually more like Hong Kong influence because my mom's family's from Hong Kong and my dad's side of the family did come through Malaya, but his mom was Cantonese. So we have a lot of Cantonese influence in the way we speak, right? So that's why like a lot of my Singaporean friends actually don't think I have a very Singlish accent at all. And they think it's very like third culture. It's not even like Angmoified. It's not even like Western. Especially the ones I grew up with. Because I remember like the ones I grew up with when I was way younger were like one of them, she like defended me when another girl was like, oh, your accent is like more westernized now, huh? And then my friend from secondary school, which is like high school, my friend from secondary school was like, no, she's always spoken like this. This is just how Diana speaks. Nobody knows why. And then I was like, actually no, I speak like my mom lah, okay? And my dad. And my dad is actually more Singlish, but because he also lived in the UK and he worked, you know, he's a civil servant, so you know, he understands the like, you know, like, have you ever watched any like Lee Kuan Yew speeches? Yeah, my dad can probably go into that if he wants to, and very rarely, but I think I've heard it a couple times in my life, like very rarely. He's very neutral voice. He's very like chill. So it's probably more like my mom and my dad a little, you know. So yeah, that being said, they sound the same to me, so I don't know. Maybe I just need to listen more closely when I go home or when I talk to them again the next time. But yes, accents matter a lot to Singaporeans, okay? Yes. So yeah, I'm finding her voice, and now that I finished the background material, going through it, I'm gonna just marinate. You know, I'm gonna go through the script, the page that I'm working on, and fill in the gaps and create the images and the imaginary world and circumstances for these two characters. And I don't know why, but I really do feel like crying after listening to that chapter on Audible. Yeah. All right, bye.